This weekend presents a chance for all 32 NFL teams to begin a new chapter. It's kickoff week across the league and an opportunity to turn the page for all teams across the country and find a way to get back to glory. That's exactly what the Dallas Cowboys will aim to do in Chapter 62 of their storied franchise's history, starting this week against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It was an offseason for the Cowboys that had its ups and it had its downs. It started with a disappointing loss in the wild card round, and then they welcomed new faces. They said goodbye to old faces, and an opportunity now presented in front of them to go all the way back to the playoffs and finally finish the job. It all starts tonight, though, as Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers invade AT&T Stadium and try and take Cowboys Nation down a peg. But that's not what the Cowboys have in mind. They have a new start, a new opportunity, and we've got Cowboys Pregame Live to break it all down for you. It's the Cowboys and the Buccaneers. Week 1 of the NFL season is here. It does not get much bigger than Sunday Night Football on kickoff week around the NFL. Under the lights of AT&T Stadium, Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers attempt to invade Cowboys Nation as we welcome you to Cowboys Pregame Live, presented by WinStar World Casino and the Resorts from the Globe Live Studios at the Star in Frisco. And if you're here for the first time, welcome. Welcome to the Ford Center, welcome to Cowboys Pregame Live. We do it big here with 3 former Cowboys, Barry Church, Isaiah Stanback, Nate Newton. I'm Kyle Yeomans. Glad you're with us. We'll be here for the next hour, leading you up to kickoff between the Buccaneers and the Dallas Cowboys. And gentlemen, there are storylines abundant for this matchup. Week 1, a rematch of last year's season opener that the Cowboys fell in. 31-29 was the final score. But Barry, as we take a look at this 2022 Cowboys team, why is this the perfect opener?
I'm going to tell you why it's the perfect opener, because for the first time in a very long time, the strength of this Cowboys team is the defensive side of the ball. And me being a defender, you got to love it. So I cannot wait until I see Dan Quinn and his defense fly around on all cylinders and make life hard for Tom Brady out there.
Well, when you're starting off a new campaign, a new season, you want to know exactly what you're dealing with. And that is a great opportunity against a team that we know is proven, has a proven leader, and a team that we need to get some payback and a little bit of redemption from last year. The first quarter of the season is going to be difficult. It's going to be nice to get off to a good start.
What I need is a totally different from what you guys are talking about. And I know I'm going to get off kilter. We need to be efficient this year. We need to be good at what we do. We need to be able to mix in the run, make things happen. And yes, Dak is healthy.
That's a big one. And now Dak Prescott and really a core of members returning back this season. You've still got the Zach Martins. You still have Dalton Schultz, CeeDee Lamb taking a step to wide receiver 1. The majority of your defense is back, including Micah Parsons, Leighton Vander Esch, Trevon Diggs, and then Jaron Kearse. We're going to get to him coming up here in a little bit as well. But there have been some changes, and the expectations have been tempered because of that. But, Nate, why should there still be hope for Cowboys Nation?
Oh, man, because we're young. We got a nice first-round pick we throwing out there at the left tackle and Tyler Smith. But more importantly, I said it before, we're young. We got Dak out there.
Well, we're live, Nate, but other than that,
God.
you got to keep going. So you're young, but you also have some experience, and there's a veteran aspect to this team that's combined with the youth, right?
That's right.
That's basically the way that I would outline what you're saying.
No, you're good. I mean, and one of the things that these guys need to be excited about is that the Dallas Cowboys have always been strong offensively. That's one of the things that Nate was talking about. And offensively, there shouldn't be too many question marks aside from the front line there. But one of the things that you're looking for now is the strength of the defense. Barry already alluded to it. You have an opportunity to be a number 1 defense and a number 1 offense. That combination together can be scary.
Yeah, and with all these changes, like you said, on the offensive side of the ball, defensive side of the ball, I'm excited to see what this defensive line can bring. All right, we talked about it last year. year. This defense, we know the Achilles heel. It was the ground game, ranked 20th in the league, giving up 115 yards per game. But they got some new pieces along there. I'm looking to see what Odigizua can bring, Neville Gallimore, Big Bohanna. What can they do to stop that run to get this defense as a whole and maybe even a top 5 defense in the National Football League?
Well, kind of along those lines, I mean, position groups are going to have to step up because of some of the youth and, of course, with some of the exits on this Cowboys roster. But what position group do you look at and say this squad, this unit has to step up more than the others?
I'm going to go right back to that defensive line because like I mentioned earlier, that was the Achilles heel to this defense. They were giving up way too much on the ground. And when you give teams the opportunity to both rush the ball, or run the ball and pass the ball, it's hard to be an efficient defense out there. But with all the new pieces we got in there, all the great rotational pieces we have, I see a lot of fresh legs going out there, and I see these guys getting after the quarterback and stifling the run.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and go out to my old position, wide receiver. Okay. And there's a lot of question marks regarding that. Now, obviously, Amari Cooper is gone. You're your fearless leader. He is gone. He's moved on. He's over in Cleveland somewhere. So now you have a guy by the name of CeeDee Lamb. And we know what he's capable of doing, but we don't know what he's capable of doing as the leader of this unit. Is he a true number one, or is he just playing number one on the roster?
You know what? I fumbled earlier, but I'm back. I'm going after the bar. Linebacker. What will he bring to the linebacker core? What will he be able to show to young Parsons? What will he be able to give Leighton Vander Esch? His wisdom, his strength, and his ability to make plays and play multiple positions are going to help us recover in the linebacker position.
You know, it's really funny. Isaiah was like, I'm going to go back to my old position. I didn't really know where he was going because he played like 7 different positions in the NFL. He's not like Barry, who's just always behind the backs of the safeties.
Not a doubt.
We do get a chance here in a little bit. We'll talk about it with Nate when we bring up the inactive list. But Jaron Kearse is back. He is going to play. So keep that in mind. That's a big sigh of relief for Cowboys fans out there. Maybe easing some of the nerves for Mike McCarthy and that entire defense. Really, Dan Quinn even getting a guy back out there who had 92 tackles a year ago. But let's hear from Mike McCarthy and the fact that nerves can be a good thing. Hopefully they're a little bit eased with Kearse being back on the gridiron.
No, I'll tell you what, I like being nervous because to me, I think you learn through time. There's a lot that comes out of that energy. I think when people are nervous, I don't look at nervous as being that's why I'm saying it the way I'm saying it. I don't think it's a negative. I think all energy. Jerry thinks all news is good news. I think all energy is good energy. So I mean, that's we kind of meet halfway there, but that's another topic. But. No, I just think all energy. You see, TC just put that in my head before I walked in there. But I think all energy is something you could benefit from. I really do. So I think you learn that through time because at the end of the day, sports, the competitive arena, it's all about the energy. It's all about the emotion, and you got to be able to not just deal with it. You got to be able to run through it in every situation. So I think it's very healthy. When guys, because we're all built differently, there's different things that will set me off or nab at me because I am older and I have seen more that then may affect a younger guy. So I think you have to be in tune with that, and I think it's all part of your experience.
There's always going to be those first week jitters. I mean, Barry, Isaiah, you both played in the league. You're going to have some jitters along the way, but it means you care, right?
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt. I mean, you're going to have those first game jitters, butterflies flying all over the place. But as soon as you get that first hit, as soon as you get that first smack, it's on and ready to go.
Barry was on one lane doing it.
You're right.
No, I was the same way. I mean, it's kickoff to the season. You want to get things all going in the right direction. So you have to make sure that you're calm, composed, but still excited and ready to go out there and make some plays.
I'm excited to go back out to AT&T Stadium where we have the 5th member of our crew out there on the ground, boots on the ground again as we get ready for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Dallas Cowboys as we welcome in Nick Eatman from down on the sidelines. Nick, it looks like the rally towels are loaded. They're ready to go. What does the atmosphere feel like out there in Arlington?
Well, Kyle, you know what I think about these rally towels. Anytime you see these white towels thrown around, it's usually tough for the road team. We'll see what happens here, but going back to the last 20 years, every time I see that, I think it's bad news. I don't know what the record is, but as far as atmosphere goes, I mean, it's exactly what you guys can imagine. It's been a fun day of football leading up to this. You see some surprises, a lot of cool stuff. But, this is the game. This is the big one. Tom Brady coming in here, taking on the Cowboys and trying to avenge last year's loss. So everything you would expect from a big atmosphere is what we're feeling right now.
That's really huge, and you tweeted about it a couple minutes ago that Jayron Kearse is expected to be back in the fold. With a neck injury that popped up, he did not practice on Friday. It was worrisome for Cowboys Nation, but why is that so big to have him back in the fold?
Because he's the guy that kind of sets the tone here. I mean, last year he was a surprise to be not only on the team, but also a guy that they relied on. And so, he kind of, like I said, he sets the tone on defense, gets everyone going. And, you need that guy that is more the enforcer. We heard about it on the offensive line, but from the defensive standpoint, Tank has done it. Micah Parsons obviously is getting into that role, but Jayron Kearse has it as well. And I think the worry was the fact that neck injuries aren't usually something that go away easily. Maybe he slept on the wrong side of the bed. Who knows? But anytime you see neck, you cringe a little bit. So I think that was kind of the key. But he's going to play close to the box. He's going to be all over the place, and a guy that will be flying around. So they really need him for this defense.
Nick, man, you're looking great as always. But let's dive straight into it. On the defensive side of the football, we know DQ loves to use Micah Parsons as that chess piece, that X factor out there, moving all the way around. When he moves down to that defensive line and gets after the quarterback, who can we expect to slide into that second-level linebacker position? Is it Jabril Cox, maybe even Anthony Barr? Who do we expect to slide into that second-level linebacker?
Well, and you also got Leighton Vander Esch in there as well. I think that there's going to be a unique role for Anthony Barr. You hear a lot, the term we hear all the time here lately is these unscouted looks, that teams haven't really got a chance to prepare for certain things. And obviously they can't prepare for what a linebacking core looks like with Micah Parsons and Leighton and Anthony Barr. So that's something that'll be interesting to see. Now, the quarterback over there, he's seen everything like 100 times. Each year, what I mean? He's seen everything. So, yeah, that might rattle him for a half a second, but still, it'll be interesting to see what Dan Quinn does with these rushers who also can move back to linebackers. There's going to be times where Micah plays linebacker and Barr rushes or Leighton rushes, so that's going to be exciting to see.
Mr. Nick, what's going on with you, man? Good to see you as always. Last year, the season kicked off with a lot of question marks regarding Dak and his health. Now this year kicks off with the question marks in terms of him not having his left tackle and him not having last year's #1 receiver. What is his mind state going into this season?
He's going to have to carry it. I mean, he has to carry the team. That's what happens when you take that pen and you sign that contract and see all those zeros. That's what you expect, and I think he's ready for that. He's been ready for this moment. He took over this team when he was a rookie and wasn't ready for it, and then it showed that he was. So my point is that this is his moment. This is his team. He can't worry about who's there at the left tackle spot and his receivers. I really believe, you can say, well, I have confidence, next man up and all that. I believe that he believes that, and I think that he'll play that way. I don't believe he's worried about Noah Brown on the outside or worried about Tyler Smith at left tackle or any of the inexperience in the middle of the line. I think he's ready to go. He'll play that way, and so it'll be fun to see, but I really don't think that he's concerned one bit about any of that.
Nick Eatman joining us from AT&T Stadium. Nick, thanks so much for the insight. Enjoy the game. We'll check back in with you soon. There he goes, Nick Eatman, and we'll have him throughout the season here on Cowboys Pregame Live. And we love hearing his insight, and man, what he said there about Dak Prescott could not be more true. There is pressure on Dak because the weapons aren't necessarily around him. But one thing that will never be lowered for Dak Prescott is going to be the preparation that he has in store. How much pressure is he under this season to really get the job done?
I think there's a lot of pressure on Dak Prescott. I mean, when you're looking at this guy, if he wants to be considered one of the upper echelon quarterbacks, one of the Bradys, one of the Rodgers of the world, he's going to have to go out there and perform well, and not only perform for himself, but he's going to have to elevate the play of his young receiving core out there. They're not very experienced. They have a handful of catches to their name when I'm talking about Noah Brown and Kelvin Turpin and all those other young receivers out there. He's going to have to help elevate those guys to the next level, and I think and believe he has the possibility to do that this season, starting today against Tampa Bay.
Well, Barry, that was some of the pressures that you have in terms of coming into the season. But in terms of who Dak Prescott is, he led the league last year in 2021 with 1,100 yards and 9 touchdowns under real duress, under pressure. So in terms of who he is, he's built for this. He's ready for this moment, and he's ready to take on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for the season kickoff.
So you're basically saying not even the metaphorical pressure. You're saying physical pressure coming at him. And Todd Bowles is probably going to send the heat tonight.
Oh, you know it.
Absolutely. They're definitely going to bring it, and that's why that stat is so important, because you have to know and rest assured, regardless of what's going up front, regardless of the changes on the outside, this guy is used to being under pressure, and he can handle it accordingly.
And there's really been a benchmark set throughout the league on how to prepare as a quarterback, and that benchmark has really been upped by Tom Brady and what Tom Brady has done on the other side of the football. Dak Prescott spoke about it early in the week, about his respect for Tom Brady, trying to strive for the success that he had, and of course, trying to take him down at the same time.
I mean, I think you should. If somebody's done it, it can be done. And so, I mean, as everybody was saying, I think agree, right? He's the GOAT. He's the standard when you talk about winning Super Bowls and championships, and he's won 7 of them. So he's won more than any other organization. So I would hope young guys do. I know I do for sure. He's got somebody that you can look up to, how he's handled his career on the field and off the field, honestly, both ways. So, when somebody does something, it's not out of reach for anyone. So I would hope young quarterbacks are doing that.
With all the young players in the lineup, are you limited in any way in terms of audibling during the game?
No, not at all. I mean, that's what this whole offseason's about. That's what the training camp's about. It's what this week's about. If there's any adjustments, things that have to be made at the line of scrimmage, the young guys or new guy or whoever it is has already been filled in, already been repped it. We'll continue to do that over these next couple of days. So I'm not limited to any audibles, any getting us in the right play, making the right check. No limitations from our young guys at all.
The focus has always been there for Dak Prescott. He continues that into year number 7. That's hard to believe, as the quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys. Welcoming in Nate Newton again, 6-time Pro Bowler, 3-time Super Bowl champ. And when you look at Dak Prescott, of course, you played with Troy Aikman. He understands pressure. Yes. Because Troy went through it. Tony Romo went through it. Roger Staubach went through it. When you're the quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys, there are ways that you have to deal with pressure. How does he do that tonight?
Just easily. Just be efficient. Be who he needs to be. You guys talked about earlier how he handles the physical pressure. He knows where the blitzes are coming from. It's not much that you can throw at him that he's going to see that's different. I mean, he's just like Tom Brady. Not the years, not the big games, but here we are once again. I just believe that if he's efficient going into at the end of the half, make sure they have the ball. At the end of the game, make sure they have the ball. And that way you give Dak every chance to outduel this guy.
Only 2 quarterbacks over the last 2 seasons have had over 300 yards per game on average. That's Tom Brady and it's Dak Prescott. They've put up the stats. Dak Prescott going to have to try and put up the wins as well. Does he have to outduel Brady in terms of the stats tonight?
Nah, because last year he outdueled him.
Okay.
Brady had 2 interceptions. He had 1. He threw for more yards. He had more passes caught. He 42 for 58. Brady was 32 for 50. So he was better. But what he has to do is be efficient, and when he get the ball, have less mistakes than Tom. That's where Tom gets everybody coming down the stretch, is he won't make that mistake with 2 minutes left, with a minute left in the game. That's what our guy Dak has to do. Don't make that mistake that will cost your team.
He threw the ball 58 times against Tampa Bay last year. Dak Prescott had 403 yards. Tom Brady on the other side also 3 for 379, but it was an outdueled, I guess, statistically for Dak Prescott. Still ended up in a 31-29 loss for the Cowboys. Now, let's see who the Cowboys are having to deal without in this game today. The inactive list out for the first time, and some names that were on here that you expect. Michael Gallup, of course, trying to return from an ACL injury that he sustained in Week 17 last year. Jabril Cox coming off of a knee injury of his own. But the most surprising one here is Jalen Tolbert. Tolbert inactive for his NFL debut, drafted in the 3rd round. He was the 88th overall pick out of South Alabama. You expect a top 100 pick to be active, especially when wide receivers been so thin throughout the offseason.
Definitely, but the other guys have probably shown more. I mean, they've done what they needed to do, and yes, he's a third-round pick, but, you know, you got to go with who's comfortable, who's connecting with Dak a little bit better. The Turpins of the world, they're connecting a little bit better, so they went with this guy and put him on the inactive.
And we talked about this with Nick a little bit earlier, but Jaron Kearse is active. He had a neck injury, did not practice on Friday, but big to have him on the backside of that defense. How tough is it for an offense to scheme against a guy like Kearse that can come down and bring some versatility?
He plays the box well. He plays the big receivers. The big tight ends are the big receivers. He can get backs out of the backfield. He's doing what he needs to do. And I think he has that green dot on his helmet, so he's calling the plays on defense, so he's the man.
How would Dallas have to adjust without Jaron Kearse? If he was to only be on a pitch count tonight, didn't necessarily play a whole lot, how would they move some pieces around to try and make sure Dan Quinn still has people to be successful?
I think you go more with the corners. You have more 3-corner sets, more 4-corner sets, because that's what he does. He's able to take away that big target. So that will be something. Now you have to ask, will you put Parsons back there to cover tight ends? Will you put Anthony Barr back there to cover tight ends? Because that's what he does. He takes away your tight end, and he's physical enough to come up into the box and make tackles.
Kearse is one of those guys that it's rare to see his ability throughout the league. He can do so many different things on the backside of the defense, and he can try and confuse an opposing quarterback. But Mike McCarthy said it earlier in the week, we do not want to play chess with Tom Brady. He's seen it all. He's seen so many different looks throughout his storied NFL career. Dan Quinn actually talked about it, and of course Dan Quinn and Tom Brady have some Super Bowl history to their own right. Here's what he had to say about his game plan and his strategy going up against one of the GOATs at the quarterback position.
You know, one of the guys, you know, a fantastic competitor and just, you know, always seems to, you know, put his team in the position to win at the end. I think going against a competitor like that, you better be at your best at, you know, in the moments of the game where it's going to come right down to it, because that's usually the separator. It's not the first down play, you know, or the second down play. It's the, you know, the within a 2-minute drive, it's in a red zone play to make sure that the intensity is just right and how to match up, because you're right, a quarterback of his stature will have seen so many looks, but that's why, you know, all 11 and the plays and how do you go and play and match up, to me, that's where the real factors are. And against any good competitor, you can't beat yourself. And I think that's, you know, I went back to watch last year's game. You wish you had some calls back. We weren't quite ready to make some multiple checks within a call, and now we are. But we grew, you know, through the season, but they won't be facing, you know, the same defense that they faced last year, although there'll be some similar faces. I would say our style has evolved quite a bit.
It has not been fun for the Dallas Cowboys against Tom Brady in their brief history. Just 6 games, and Tom Brady's won hundreds of games throughout his career, but 14 touchdowns, just 4 interceptions. Oh, and most importantly, 6-0. The record for Tom Brady, his only win with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers coming in the opening week of 2021. Cowboys trying to give him his first loss against America's team here in 2022. Back here with Barry Church and Isaiah Stanback. So Tom Brady, Isaiah, you know him pretty well because you played with him in New England. You've seen the preparation, what he brings to the table. What would a win against him mean for this Dallas Cowboys team if they were to secure that first victory tonight?
It would mean that the Dallas Cowboys start the season 1-0. That is about all that it means. These guys, Tom Brady, historically, obviously has been good against the Dallas Cowboys, but that has nothing to do with this year's roster. They have a new challenge ahead of them. This is a 2022 season. They need to get off to a good start. They need to know that they can beat good teams because the first part of the season is very difficult. So get the dub against one of the great legends and then move on to the next game.
Barry, help me out. Give me an actual TV answer here. He goes 1-0. What are we talking about?
You know, I would love to help you out, but Isaiah, he's 100% right on this one. I mean, look, you start out 1-0. This isn't the playoffs. This isn't, you know, a do or die situation. This isn't a must-win situation. So you start out 1-0. But more importantly, I think it just verifies all the work you've done in the offseason. All the OTAs, training camp, preseason games. It verifies the work that you've been putting in is going to lead towards something. And it'll give you confidence heading into week 2. But first and foremost, you got to get the victory tonight.
That's kind of where I want to lead it, though, because if you do get a win against Tom Brady, it tells you about your ball club. It tells you what you've brought to the table, even with the ups and the downs of an offseason. What would you learn if they came out on top saying, okay, we can take this into the back half of that schedule?
You can take this into the back half of the schedule. If they come out here and hit on all cylinders, defense flying around the ball, you get that young offensive line working and all cylinders flying around together, I think you can take that into week 2, and it just builds that confidence. It just gets you guys going in the right direction, and hopefully that happens tonight for the Dallas Cowboys.
I think it depends on how they go about it. Right? If they get the victory, how did you win the game? Did you win the game by stopping TB12, the guy who gets the ball out the quickest out of any quarterbacker in the league? Do you stop them from by eliminating their run game and shutting down, Fournette, when the area of a part of your defense that you've been weak at in recent years, all of a sudden you become strong at? So that's what is going to really tell, be the tell for these guys. How do they win, and where were they strong at versus a great opponent?
And you mentioned it here. Tampa Bay is a different looking ball club than they were last year. They've lost some pieces. They've moved into a couple other pieces. Micah Parsons is a different player this year than he was at this game last year at the same time. Played 85% of his snaps back behind the line of scrimmage last year, rather than being up at the line of scrimmage and blitzing. Micah Parsons knows to take down a superhero, you've got to be the Kryptonite. He's talked about it all week long. Here's his mindset going up against Tampa Bay for the second time around.
Just see his competitive nature. Like he has that fire inside of him, and I mean, he looks to kill you. He wants to step on your throat like you're a roach. And that's what you look for in competitors. I think that's why, if you're a real competitor, you look up to like Tom Brady, you look up to Kobe, that Mamba mentality, you look up to Michael Jordan. I wouldn't ask you to do anything I wouldn't do. You love those type of mentalities. That Mike Tyson, people love Mike Tyson because how fierce he was, and you look up to that because we aspire to be that fierce or be that, that strong. You got to be a real strong-minded person to be you are. And for Tom to do that in New England and do it and in the Bucs, I mean, he inspires me. Even though I'm on defense, when you throw the ball, you like, I'm like Tom. Or you throw it like Mahomes, he's in that category.
Does Tom Brady have kryptonite?
Man, I wouldn't say. I mean, I really haven't seen it since I've been alive. He's been pretty dominant, But at the end of the day, I think just like any superhero, they have challenges, and they got to get through them. Whether they lose in that day or they lose a fight. I done seen the Hulk get beat up. I done seen Thor get beat up. Seen Captain America get beat up. I mean, every superhero gets beat up. But, one thing they always do, they always get it back up, and they find a way to get to their destination. So Tom may have a kryptonite, he may not, but he gets beat up, but he gets back up. And I think a lot of people in this league is superheroes, because as long as you can get back up and keep going doing the fight, you're a superhero in many eyes.
All right, so Micah said it there. There is a kryptonite potentially for every superhero out there. Isaiah, you played with Tom Brady. Where is the kryptonite? Is it outside? Is it inside? Where are you looking forward to it for?
It's going to be right there where Micah wants to take advantage of these guys, and that's right in the interior portion of the offensive line. You think about the three interior guys for Tom Brady. He's missing his guys, Ryan Jensen, Alex Kappa, and then Ali Marpet. Those are his three main dogs, and those guys are no longer there. So all of a sudden, that top 16%, he was only pressured 16% of his passes last year. I don't think that's going to be the case no longer with those guys missing.
Yeah, this defensive line can definitely take advantage of this Tampa Bay offensive line because, like you said, they're missing their most important piece, and that's Ryan Jensen. He's the guy that got this offensive line moving in the right direction. He's the guy that kind of set the protections and make sure TB12 was standing upright. So, to me, without him being there and Dan Quinn's moving pieces, how he has those chess pieces running around on the defensive side of the football, I think they can take advantage of it and make life hard for TB12 out there tonight.
And Ali Marpet, I mean, he's even made Pro Bowls throughout his career, and him not being available anymore makes it really tough for that interior. Left guard, center, right guard, all wiped out from this team a year ago, this offensive line a year ago. And even DeMarcus Lawrence talked about it as well. I mean, this Cowboys team comes in as underdogs, but they've got some strengths where Tampa Bay has some weaknesses. They are 2.5-point underdogs at home tonight, but DeMarcus Lawrence says that's not necessarily all that matters whenever this matchup comes around.
I say the keys for, me and my teammates to go out there and, expose. But, it's just really just attacking. Make sure we keep that upfield pressure on them and, moving them off his spot. So.
Your thoughts on being an underdog in this game?
Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, let the dogs eat. We'll see. So, that really don't matter to me. underdog, upper dog, it doesn't matter. We still got to go out there and play the game. So feel like my team prepared the right way throughout training camp. Now we locked in on the Bucs.
The Sunday night game still mean something to you guys? Just being on there.
Bro, we just had a whole off season, really no football. So I mean, for a lot of us, like me, Dak, Zeke, we didn't get to play those preseason games. So we juiced up for this week.
How much more confident are you guys coming into the season, this second year under Dan and this system, just playing fast?
All right, yeah, the confidence did grow, especially second year in the system, being able to have the same, type of group around you, it's easier to communicate. So with that said, we're going to just keep pushing the clock.
Any side bets between you and Micah for most sacks this year?
Oh, most definitely. Yeah, you stay tuned for that too.
DeMarcus Lawrence going to try and get after that man right there, Tom Brady. He always has the fist pump in the end zone, even when he's on the road. He brings the confidence. He brings the swagger, and the Cowboys are going to try and knock him down a peg tonight. DeMarcus Lawrence, Micah Parsons, we just heard from both of those guys. They're going to play a big role in trying to get after Brady in the pocket. Now, here's the thing about Tom Brady. He still does rely on the run game quite a bit, and that's part of the balanced attack that he's had throughout his career. He gets the job done himself, don't get me wrong, but having a ground game really opens things up for an offense, even with Tom Brady back there. Last year, the Cowboys did a fantastic job of slowing down Leonard Fournette. He had 9 carries, just 32 yards. He signed a 3-year, $21 million deal this March. So he's done plenty for Tampa Bay to have some confidence in him. How do the Cowboys replicate that success tonight?
Look, they're going to have to shut down Tom Brady and this rushing attack, like you mentioned, Kyle, because if we go out there and you give Tom Brady a balanced attack, he is almost impossible to beat out there. So this defense is going to have to make them one-dimensional, and I think it starts with the interior defensive line. I'm talking about Odigizua. I'm talking about Neville Gallimore. Not only can they stuff up that run up the gut, but they can also give those offensive linemen heck to try to get to that second level. Let your linebackers run sideline to sideline and shut this run down. They're going to have to, because like I said earlier, if you give Tom Brady a balanced attack, he's impossible to beat.
One dimension is the key, Barry, and that's what you have to do. But Quentin Bohannon's had a nice offseason. He's did everything in training camp. I think he may start tonight because you need to have a big load up in the middle. So Quentin Bohannon, Neville Gallimore, these guys here are competing for that one spot. Osi is your 3. Yeah. So, you want him getting up there on the outside of that right guard or that left guard. But these 2 guys, Quentin Bohannon and Neville Gallimore, has to be the pitcher tonight.
Is this as deep as the interior of the Cowboys' defensive line has been in maybe a decade, maybe 2 decades? Where does it compare against some of those other defensive lines in the past?
I hate to be like Isaiah. It was training camp, and they looked great. They went against the Chargers. They went against Denver. And doing the practices, they looked great. They stopped the run. But this is live bullets, and we'll need to see that again tonight. These 2 guys are on the come-up, though.
It feels like there's a common theme starting to unfold here on our first pregame live. Prove it. That's what it feels like, right?
Yeah, everything looks great on paper. Everybody looks great in shorts when you're out there in OTAs and training camp. But when it comes down to getting on the field and producing, you got to prove it. And that's why you love playing on Sundays. This is prime time. This is your opportunity to prove that you belong. I can't wait to see it, Kyle.
Yeah, and the backfield for Dallas didn't necessarily prove it last year in this matchup either. I mean, Zeke was held for 11 carries, 33 yards. Tony Pollard had 3 carries for 14 yards. And, of course, Dallas threw the ball 58 times. But in totality, throughout the season, Ezekiel Elliott back over 1,000 yards. Tony Pollard had his best career year, at least in terms of his stats. Oh, and by the way, he was 5th in the NFL with 5.5 yards per carry. They'll see a big-bodied Tampa Bay front tonight. But how does this ground game get going again, especially with Dallas missing some pieces from this game last year on their offensive line?
For me, all the reports I've seen all this week, and even Jerry Jones on his radio show, it all signs indicate that the ground game still goes through Ezekiel Elliott. Now, that doesn't mean we won't see Tony Pollard out there in some form of fashion, some type of role with this offensively. But to me, it all starts and stops with Zeke. You have to feed that man. Get this balanced attack going. Do not rely solely on Dak Prescott's arm to win this game. Have a balanced attack, and I think this offense can be extremely productive.
And the way you do that is with misdirection. You block down, and you bring a guard around. You hit quick. You let Big Vita Vale come up field, and you wham him. with your tight ends. So it's got to be quick and it's got to be downhill. You got to be creative in your run game, and I think these guys can do that. Coach, you said it. The owner said it. The coaches believe it, and they got to do it now.
Would you like to see more Tony Pollard involved? Would you like to see more of that gap closed between the usage between him and Zeke?
If the down and distance require that, yes. If you're trying to get outside and get a speed game going, yes. But if you need to soften them up and beat them up, no, I need Zeke.
What about you, Barry?
I'm going Zeke all day. I mean, look, as a defender, I used to hate hitting those big bully guys that love to run into contact. I used to love the little fast finesse guys like a Tony Pollard. But when you got a guy like Zeke that can bring that thunder down in and down out, it wears the defense down. So I'm going with 21 all day.
Which one, Nate, if you were an offensive lineman, which one would you rather block for?
Oh, I'm blocking for Zeke.
Really?
I'm blocking for Zeke because I know that if I kind of miss a block, Zeke going to go and get that ump. You always need a guy that's going to fall positive, and Zeke is always going to fall positive. He was hurt last year. We don't have a fresh Zeke. So we do take advantage of that, especially if I'm a young guy and I'm going against like William Golston and those guys that were heavy hitters. I need a guy that's going to give him some oomph. But by the end of the game, I'll be rolling him over.
And Zeke knows what exactly is waiting for him on the other side of that offensive line as well, because Tampa Bay is bringing a big-time front. Here's what he had to say about the matchup.
They're definitely one of the best defenses in the league at stopping the run, and a lot of it is the schematics and their philosophy. And there's going to be a lot of tight boxes. They're a team that will rather you throw it than let you run it. So it's going to be important for us just to be physical, and come off to a good start.
Mike described you and Tony Pollard as being a tandem, both backs that don't have to come off the field. How would you describe how that relationship has evolved and how you guys see yourselves working into the game plan this season?
I think ever since Tony's gotten here, we've been pretty close, and it's been a really good relationship. We've been, two guys that feed off each other, and we're each other's biggest hype man, and we're gonna make sure that that we're gonna make each other better every day. And so, I think it's great that this year we've even opened up the offense and have more packages with me and Tony on the field, and I think that'll be good for us.
So Zeke, even with some extra confidence for his offensive line, they do have Tyler Smith, Connor McGovern, Tyler Biotish, Zach Martin, Terrence Steele. That's your left to right, your offensive line. Oh, and here's the guys they're going up against. Vita Vea, Shaq Barrett, both had fantastic seasons a year ago for the Buccaneers front. They're going to come after you. How does this offensive line bring some success?
Well, I'm going to be quick because I got the O-line expert right here, Nate Newton. But in my opinion, you got to lean on your ground game. You got to let this offensive line be the aggressors out there. Let them impose their will on this defensive line out there. Not only will that help set up a balanced attack, but it'll get their confidence going forward as the game progresses. Let your offensive line be the big man eaters and eat that defensive line up.
Understand this. You only need the run game to continue to make downs on third and short. You got to stay even with the chains. If you third and 4 or less, now our quarterback can become a part of the running game. Now our running backs can run up in there and fall forward and get those extra yards. You only need it to keep the chains moving, and that's how we'll defeat this team. You just keep the chains rolling.
Last year, Cowboys' most penalized team in the NFL. The offensive line was a big part of that. Are you worried about the flags being thrown up front for guys like this that are a little inexperienced?
Yes, I am. I mean, if our crowd gets noisy at the wrong time and everybody gets a little jittery, yes, that does bother me. But if we can get some type of run game going early and get these guys in some type of rhythm, it'll calm them down. You don't want the success to come with their defense first and our offense is on their heels. You want us to be able to roll at them. And if we roll at them, then we can control everything.
What does the emotions of an NFL debut feel like? Could you compare it to anything, Barry, Nate, either one of you guys? When you had your NFL debut, what was that emotion like? What was that anxiety like?
It was so confusing to me because, I felt energized. I wanted to go out there. My aggression was rolling, but then I also just felt the butterflies rolling up on me. Tears were coming down my eyes. It was something that you can't really explain unless you're out there on the field. So I understand what those players are going through. Butterflies are going to be rolling. But like I mentioned earlier, Kyle, when you get that first smack, after that, it all just becomes football at that point.
Your head coach said all energy is good energy. You have it flying all over the place. You have to try to harness that thing. And once you harness and get that first hit in, my first game, once I got that first hit in, I knew I belonged in the NFL.
So the direction I'm going with this is based off of what you were saying a moment ago about keeping your footing and building a rhythm and a confidence level up front. it's not just for everybody up front. It's for the rookie at left tackle, and that's Tyler Smith, who's making his NFL debut tonight. I mean, there's so many emotions that he's dealing with right now as we take a look at live looks at AT&T Stadium. He's out there warming up for the first time before his NFL debut, but at least earlier in the week, he sounded cool, calm, and collected.
I mean, I'm super excited. You know, it's the culmination of a dream. I know I say that a lot, but, you know, I'm thankful to God just to be here. And, man, it's an exciting time. You know, I can't wait to be out there.
How's that switch been going? Do you feel comfortable?
I mean, yeah, I feel comfortable. You know, left tackle was my position in college. It was the only one I ever really played, you know, in my offensive line career. So it's been good.
What have you seen in your film study at Tampa Bay and what you see on the other side of the ball?
I mean, they got a talented defense. Obviously, you know, they got a great D-line. You know, Vita Vea, Shaq Barrett, all those guys. You know, they're twitchy and they're good. But, you know, we're good too. We got a great D-line over here and we're getting good work in every day. So we'll be ready come Sunday.
So not very easy for Tyler Smith in his professional debut as he goes up against that Tampa Bay front seven. And oh my goodness, they've got some dudes on the other side of the football. But Tyron Smith, the left tackle initially for the Dallas Cowboys, out up until December is what it looks like, with an avulsion on his knee, a fracture on his knee. May be back later in the season, but for now, it's Tyler Smith moving out to left tackle where he played at Tulsa. He took most of his snaps, if not all of his snaps, in the offseason at guard, so he may need some help out there. Good thing we've got Nate Newton, 3-time Super Bowl champ, 6-time Pro Bowler, to tell us how can Kellen Moore in this offense kind of scheme some things up to help out the rookie.
And I'm going to try to keep it very simple for you viewers out there, man. I'm going to use these great guys up here to show you just 3 or 4 ways to get this done. The first one is we're going to do it with rhythm snap count. And what I mean by that is you're going to use a hard 2, a hut, and we're going to let my man Isaiah explain how to quarterback.
Yeah. So one of the ways you can help him out is going to go hut. And what you're trying to do is just get the lineman jumping a little bit, get them on their fingertips just enough so that the lineman can reach out and touch them and get a free 5 yards.
Thank you. The second way we're going to do it is we're going to do it with a tight end. Okay. And we're going to set up in here right now. We got Barry Church here as Shaq Barrett, either you want to say William Golston, or either Akeem Hicks, or either one you want to do. Well, first thing it's called a hang with me. He'll be in a 3-4 defense kind of, sometime he'll be head up, sometime he'll be shading, and right now he's William Golston and Shaq Barrett will be out here, but right now we're worried about this. Right here, we'll hang with me because we're going to take Shaq Barrett up out of there as an outside linebacker. So,
and who are you?
I'm Tyler Smith.
Okay.
Ain't giving up nothing. We ain't giving up nothing because y'all gonna give me some help. You know what I'm saying?
And then who am I?
And you are my left guard who I was battling, and you beat me out, and that's Connor McGovern.
It happens.
And I'm young Dalton.
All right.
Here we
so
go.
on set hut, we're gonna do a hang with me. And what it allows me to do is square up with this young man and be able to fight him from the start. Sometimes I'll even quick set him. Go on set hut. Boom. We're gonna stop him. And I'm going to square up, and I'm going to fight him from this point right here. And then you release out into your route. But if I can show that I can handle this guy after you do that right there, you can get into your route sooner. It's the quicker we stabilize him. The third way is with a running back coming out of the backfield. Mostly he'll come a little bit outside right here. Now, what I do, if I'm anxious, and y'all have given me all this help, and I get anxious, and I overset him, and he come inside, my back got to be smart enough to read it. I need a smart back like my man Freaky Zeke. He's smart. He can read it. And if I don't set him enough and he get outside, boom, and he'll give me a chance to square back up. But if I'm perfect and we've got in rhythm and I set perfect on it, boom, boom, my back just release outside or inside, wherever he needs to go. But the killer, the one-shot thriller from Manila is right here with my boy, Connor McGovern.
Getting in there.
What I'm going to do is if I can set on him square and get him to commit his hands up, my man going to go a kill shot with shoulder and forearm. You're not going to hit him with your head because that's spearing and you're costing.
Good idea.
All right. So we're going to set up. Boom, 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 boom. Set. I want him to come and just, yes, sir, shoulder and wipe him out. So he will never, ever come back in here and I can just set him the whole game. But, fellas, understand, this is only be a fraction of the time.
Yeah.
We can only help him about 35% of the time because we still have to get guys out into routes. We still have to get guys doing their jobs because a lot of times it's going to be where I'm going to have to set out the Shaq and he's going to have to come to So it's going to be one-on-one a lot of the times.
So no matter what, I mean, either way, Tyler Smith is going to be on an island at
Yes.
left tackle. Even 35% of the time, you're going to scheme it up with a tight end, a running back,
Yes.
somebody to help out, hard counts. That's probably going to be scattered throughout the game. But 35% of the time, you're trying to help your guys. But ultimately, Tyler Smith's got to step up, and that's the expectation from this front office. If you're drafted in the first, second, third round,
yes, sir,
you're expected to come in and make an immediate impact. Trevon Diggs did that as well, drafted in the second round in 2020. He came in, and safe to say he's had a pretty big impact on that defense moving forward. What does he have to say about the matchup that they've got with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers wide receivers?
Yeah, he's a very great wide receiver, one of the best receivers in the league. And, it's an honor, honestly, just to be able to, compete and be able to get that work with him and just, just go out there and just compete, So, it's exciting. I'm excited for the game.
And one of the running things last year was, will the quarterbacks continue to throw at you? And they did.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think in 2022 they'll find it difficult to even entertain throwing away from you because you see guys like Anthony Brown who can take the ball away, Jordan Lewis as well?
I feel like they'll have a tough time throwing the ball anywhere on this defense. My side, Anthony's side, in the middle, anywhere. I feel like everyone can do it. Everyone can do exactly what I did last year. I got complete faith in all the guys. I seen them work. I work with them every day, so I know what they're capable of. So, that's just on them. Decide where they want to go with the ball, and we'll see what happens.
Trevon Diggs has a brand new receiving core on the other side of the football to deal with this year. As opposed to last year, it really feels like it's completely different, except for Mike Evans right there up at the top, because Chris Godwin looks like he's active. He's ready to go. Russell Gage a little banged up. Godwin banged up. But then you've got Julio Jones here, too. I mean, it's different, but still very much so the same. Barry Church, Isaiah Stanback, Nate Newton here. I'm Kyle Yeomans. Glad you're with us here on Cowboys Pregame Live. And with this wide receiving core, it really doesn't matter who Tom Brady's throwing the football to. It's Tom Brady throwing the football. What kind of challenges do they present this secondary?
They present a lot of challenges because, like you said, there's a lot of different type of receivers out there. Russell Gage is more that quick slot guy. Then you got a guy like Julio Jones and Mike Evans who are both deep threats on the outside. Now, I'm not necessarily worried about Diggs on the outside, but that matchup between Anthony Brown and whichever one of those tall receivers out there could be a little nightmarish for me. So to me, that's the matchup to key on and look at. But overall, this secondary and this defense, they should be able to handle this Tampa Bay passing attack.
I don't disagree with you, but I do believe that TB12 is going to test our number 7, which is Trevon Diggs. I think last year they only faced each other about 5 times in terms of him lining up over Mike Evans, and he got the best of him. Mm-hmm. All right, but the only problem is Mike Evans is third all time in terms of consecutive years with 1,000 yards with 8. Right, 8 consecutive years over 1,000 yards. I think TB12 is going to try to do what he can to contribute to the 9th year in a row.
I just wondered about who's going to stick Julio Jones. I mean, a guy that's got all this experience, all this power, sheer power. Can we put a second corner on him or a third corner, and can they hold up, especially when they go to the red zone? Even though Julio is not a big red zone guy, what are they going to do with that if they put him in there?
And Trevon Diggs, who had 11 interceptions last year, his encore season starts off with these two guys going up against him, trying to replicate maybe some of that success. But also at the same time, you don't have to have 11 interceptions to have a great season. If you can shut down Mike Evans like you did last year, 3 receptions, 24 yards. Now, he did have an interception, so let's keep that in mind. Right. He still had the turnover, even with the great numbers. But Trevon Diggs is going to have to go up against these two guys. If Godwin is fully healthy, like we're being told he is, can he present just a little bit of a mismatch for Evans if he were to go back over that direction?
I don't think he presents that much of a mismatch. Godwin, he's coming off that ACL injury, so I'm not sure how much he's going to be like he was last year. So I'm not necessarily worried about that matchup. To me, it's all about Evans and how we can control him and contain him towards tonight's game.
Yeah, I'm not too concerned about Godwin either. I think more so I'm on the Nate train in terms of Julio Jones. Yeah. And, especially with Nashawn Wright and Israel Mukuamu not being active tonight. Those are 2 of your larger defensive backs. So that presents more of a problem to me, especially as they get into the red zone.
You know what? We got to cover these guys, regardless of who it is, regardless of who our defensive backs are, regardless of Goodwin. He's not healthy, and I don't think that he's ready to play. I mean, you coming off ACL, he's not going to be ready. I would get up and jam him, and I would make him prove that he can play ball.
Yeah, so you want to challenge him early on.
Yes.
That's probably what teams will do to Michael Gallup when he returns. Of course, he's inactive this week. That's not necessarily a surprise. But Godwin being active, I think a little bit of a surprise. People kind of expected for him to wait a week and then come back. He did not practice earlier in the week. Now, Team speed is going to help out Dallas a lot when covering these wide receivers and going up against the Buccaneers. Jordan Lewis joked around throughout the week about who has the most team speed on this Dallas Cowboys secondary, and it's not necessarily who you might think.
System expertise, and we've been playing fast because we understand what's going on. We understand how he wants to get it done, and you know, it just feels good to see guys flying around.
Is that the difference between track speed and football speed?
Yeah, you got to know. You got to know what's going on. I mean, track speed, you see a finish line and you just go. You don't think about too much. But in football, you got to see, you know, your adjustments and you know who's in front of you and what's going on. So once we can see that, you know, it helps us all the more.
Who's the fastest?
Who's the fastest? On the team?
Yeah, or on the defense.
On the defense, Anthony Brown. Anthony Brown is the fastest guy on the defense. You was about to say Micah or something like that?
I was wondering if you were going to say Micah.
No, I mean, I don't know if he might be a close third, second. But I don't know. AB is the fastest, for sure.
What's Mike would say he's first.
Absolutely. You got to go ask him that.
So Jordan Lewis joking around, he said, okay, it's not necessarily who you think. Well, we've got the receipts.
Ooh, okay.
Fast and furious 40 times for this Cowboys defense. 4-3 for Kelvin Joseph, who is active, by the way. He was in that final preseason game. He left with a concussion. Anthony Brown, he's shown plenty of speed, had a career year a year ago, trying to rebound in week one. Not necessarily his greatest game last year against Tampa Bay, but he did rebound after that. He's going to try for some revenge today. And then looky there, the third one on the list, Micah Parsons. When you've got a guy at the second level that can run like that, it's going to provide some problems for that defense.
Without a doubt. And I'm going to tell you something right now. They better use all that speed to get after Tom Brady. I don't care how fast you are in the secondary. If that guy in the back end, Tom Brady, has all the time in the world, he is going to dissect your secondary. So use that speed to get after him.
Yeah, I'm on your side. I'd much rather see these guys utilizing their speed to come downhill instead of running behind somebody. I don't want to see their speed running behind a receiver. I want to see them coming down at TB12.
You know, I've seen Trevon Diggs go get balls out of there, but I tell you who plays the fastest. That's Micah Parsons. When you can turn 4-3 into 4-0, that's what Micah Parsons does. So okay. I'm with you. Come downhill and get on TB.
And we were talking about NFL debuts a little bit ago, but Sam Williams also on that list. He was the final one there. He's got some speed, too, coming off the edge. If you can use Micah Parsons like that, why not use Sam Williams like that, Barry?
This is true. When you got two guys on the edge that can create havoc like that, and they got the speed to get around these offensive tackles, you got to use them to your advantage. I know Dan Quinn is the mad genius, so he's going to be able to get the most out of both of his players out there. I'm excited to see what the young rookie can bring.
All right, speaking of speed and speaking of rookies, we have to talk about Kevontae Turpin. Turpin, of course, with a punt return touchdown, a kick return touchdown in the same preseason game, week 2 of the preseason at SoFi Stadium against the Los Angeles Chargers. He took 2 kicks to the house, both in the first half. Is it possible, just a pipe dream, that he's still flying under the radar, Isaiah? Because when something happens on special teams like that, it seems like red flags go up around the league. Are they even going to kick it to him?
On kickoffs, they will not kick it to him. They'll kick that thing through the goalpost. On punt returns, they necessarily can't control that. So what they'll try to do is they'll try to sky it. But what we can do to combat that is by having a little vice on the outside. 2 guys go ahead and guard their guy, their gunner that's trying to come downfield. All you need to do is give him one step, and that boy turns into a McNasty.
Without a doubt. And I'm not looking at him to go out there and return each and every kickoff. He might not even touch the end zone today. But what he can do is he can set this offense up with good field position. If he's able to do that, it'll take a lot of pressure off Dak Prescott in this offense to go down the field and score some touchdowns. I love the addition of Turpin out there.
Yeah, and he's not necessarily completely under the radar. He still might be from a league-wide perspective, but there is somebody in that wide receiving core that is not under the radar, and that is CeeDee Lamb. He is being expected to take that jump to the number 1 wide receiver core, or number 1 receiver in this wide receiver core immediately. And here's what he had to say about some of his preparation and watching guys like Cooper Kupp around the league.
A lot, man. At your position, at your respective position, I feel like you always want to look at the best, and whoever they consider the best, you want to watch what he's done throughout the season. And I love what he's done. I love the way he runs routes and his ability to compete. And I'm not too far off, honestly. And that's personally how I feel. And I feel like I can literally be one of the best receivers in this NFL.
You feel like you can be dominant this
Most definitely.
When you're confident in your training the way that you are, what does it do for your confidence now that the season is here?
Confidence can only take you so far. Personally, that's how I feel. And I feel like, you have to have confidence in this league or else you will get kicked out, chewed up, and spit out. And that's personally, like out of experience, you can't really get down on your bad plays or anything. It's kind of like time to move on and just go out there and do it again and make a play.
Is there a comparable week leading up to this game on Sunday and the expectations of you to another point in your career?
Not necessarily. I feel like I've had this mindset, going on for years, like that I've played ball competitively, just going out there having fun and obviously compete, but just most of all have fun with the guys that I've been training with this whole time, get a bond, and literally like I said earlier, there's no better joy than catching the dub.
So CeeDee Lamb expected to take that jump to the number 1 wide receiver. What would the expectations look like, Barry, when you're wanting him to take that jump? What would it end up being?
To me, I want to see him out there leading the team by far in targets. I want to see this guy, whether he's in the outside, the slot, put him in at the point, at a trio effect, whatever the case may be. I need him to be leading this team in targets by far. Find a way to get him the ball. I know Todd Bowles is going to dial up something to double team him, but Kellen Moore, this is where that boy genius needs to come out. You got to get your playmakers the ball early and often, and I hope to see it from CeeDee Lamb.
I'm with you on some of those aspects, but in terms of the targets and in terms of how many times they coming after him, I don't really care about that. I care more so about the completion rate when the ball does come his way. I want to see him completing at least 80% of the passes that are targeted towards CD. And the other thing that I'm looking for is his leadership qualities. Okay. That's the jump that I want to see. I want to see what happens when there's a bad ball, when Dak overthrows him or misthrows. How does he respond to it? How does he lead these guys as they continue to come back?
And what he's talking about is body language. Yep. When the quarterback throw it a little bit behind you, do you be like, oh, it's okay, it's okay? Do you walk back to your quarterback, hey, it's all right? When something go down with Turpin, a young guy, hey, don't worry about it. You got to be that leader, and that's what I believe, and that's what Michael Irvin was. Didn't matter whether he was getting the ball, even though he demanded the ball, that's what happened.
Well, and one thing you've been very vocal about is being a leader in this wide receiving core as a whole, because there's a lot of youth there that is inexperienced, doesn't necessarily have the skins on the wall. CeeDee Lamb, at least up to this point, has performed well as an NFL wide receiver. How does he instill some of that on some of these young guys that are maybe getting their first real shot at at an NFL game?
Being the example. I mean, you think about some of the guys that he's going to be leading in this room today. I mean, you have Jalen Tolbert, who's a first rounder, who's a third rounder, who's not playing today. Yeah. You have an undrafted guy and really a guy they're not even invested in terms of Turpin up, Dennis Houston up. These are guys that are going to be watching him to see how he carries himself, how he responds to the good plays, how he responds to the adversity.
Yeah, it's all about leadership. Lead by example, be that vocal leader, get these guys going in the right direction. You know how we talked about the offensive line and Zach Martin being that guy that gets everything going in the right direction. When it comes to the wide receiver room, CeeDee Lamb is that guy, and he needs to step up and be that leader, and I believe he will tonight.
I tell you what, man, it's everything. That leadership y'all talking about, it is everything. It makes your team go. But first of all, I got to believe that you got to get him this ball any way you can. You got to get him off often and early so he can have this confidence. I mean, we want him to be the man, but this kid still wants the ball, and he's young. So it's going to be up to Kellen to give him many targets.
How much should Kellen Moore and Dak Prescott rely on Dalton Schultz to kind of fill a role in that core as well?
That's 1B. I mean, the other guy's 1A, this is 1B. You got to throw in the ball. I'm predicting this guy going to have 100 receptions, close to 1,000 yards, maybe 10 TDs. That's what I'm believing for Dalton Schultz.
And Dalton Schultz needs to be that heavy down blinking on a cold night. I mean, he has to be the guy that you just absolutely need. He's the guy that you rely on because he's a necessity for this team. If Dak Prescott cannot find Dalton Schultz, this offense is going to struggle.
Yeah, with all the unproven talent, the young talent they have out there, it's going to come down to CeeDee Lamb. It's going to come down to Dalton Schultz, and I believe Dalton Schultz will be that security blanket. 3rd and 5, 3rd and 6. He's going to look at 86 to make the first down, and hopefully it comes true.
Is that what you use? Is the heavy down blanket?
Yeah, I'm from Seattle. You got to have them. You got to have a down jacket.
You gotta have a little extra layer on top of it. That's what Dalton Schultz is. He's an extra layer for this offense. He may not be the featured piece, but he is going to be utilized, especially in a game like tonight. Let's go back out to AT&T Stadium, where we've got a very special guest here on Cowboys Pregame Live. It's Cowboys COO Stephen Jones.
All right, thanks, guys. I'm joined, as always, by Stephen Jones, Cowboys Chief Operating Officer, and he just said, I'm pumped, ready to go. I know you are. Week 1 against Tom Brady and the Bucs. Just tell us a little bit more about what you're feeling.
Well, it just doesn't get any bigger stage than this. I mean, we are going against probably the greatest player to ever play the game in terms of any measurement you want to use, championships or whatever. And, it's going to take anything and everything we've got tonight to come out here and do what we want to get done. But at the same time, I feel like we can do that. Our team's very prepared. Mike's got them in a great place. You can feel it. I don't think they're too nervous. I think they're very dug in, very focused, and ready to go play football.
Micah Parsons, it was his rookie year last season, first game out of the box. He has to go up against the GOAT, like you said. And now, a year later, Defensive Rookie of the Year, maybe one of the best players in all of football. How more confident are you about number 11 running around?
Believe it or not, and this is a big statement, I think he's going to be better. He's going to take the next step. Certainly Coach Quinn and his coaching staff, George Edwards, have really worked with him, and everything that I've seen in camp points to him being even better. And it's a great group that Dan has around him. I think the group as a whole is ready to take the next step in terms of playing defense and really being a factor in every game. Certainly Dan brought the plays on the ball last year to the field, and we made really turnovers were a big part of our identity, and we want that to continue.
All right, I'm going to go rapid fire with you. I'm going to throw out a couple of players and see what your quick thoughts are. Noah Brown making this start tonight.
Well, I'm fired up for Noah. He's paid his dues. He's a pro. I think he's going to go out there and do a great job. I know Dak has great confidence in him, and I think he'll do his job.
Tyler Smith.
Fired up about Tyler. I know, he's a rookie playing that left tackle spot, but I know the coach has got a great plan for him. I think he'll step up and get the job done as well.
All right, last one. I'm not going to go through the whole roster, but one more. Kavontae Turpin.
Well, he's electric. He's exciting, and I know Bones has a lot of good situations for him here that hopefully he'll get an opportunity maybe to get one to the house for us.
All right, that would be awesome. And I know you want to get that monkey off your back with Tom Brady. You had never beaten him before. He's undefeated against the Cowboys. You think tonight's the night?
Well, you don't want to get into projections, but I feel great about our football team.
And this is your first game with the Cowboys. Something's a little different this year, right? You're a grandpa now.
I'm a grandfather now. I got my little baby Gigi now on the ground, and hopefully she'll bring us some good luck too.
All right, sounds good. That's Stephen Jones, Cowboys Chief Operating Officer. We'll throw it back to Kyle and the crew.
Thank you very much, Nick and Stephen Jones there at AT&T Stadium. And congratulations to Stephen Jones, a grandfather. How about that? That's some good news to celebrate here prior to kickoff against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But, guys, it has come to that time. We were just over 15 minutes away from kickoff, 7:20 on NBC Sunday Night Football. Tom Brady and the hated Tampa Bay Buccaneers going into AT&T Stadium to face the Dallas Cowboys. Keys to the game. Barry Church, I'll start with you. How do the Cowboys come out 1-0?
Defensively, you got to be +2 in the takeaway category. Last year, you took the ball away 4 times from these guys. You almost had the victory, almost. But this time, you got to get 2+ in the category. You'll walk away with a victory. Trust me on that.
I'm going straight to third down efficiency on both sides of the ball. For offense, we need to be 70+% on the third down. That means that you are running the ball. That means that you're converting on those contested passes. Defensively, you got to get TB12 off the field. That's it.
I'm going with offensively. You have to stay up ahead of the chains. You got to stay in manageable downs and distance and give Dak every chance to be who he can be. And the defense just have to dominate. One word, dominate.
Do you think they can dominate?
They can. If they come up the middle of Bohannon and Gallimore come up that middle with everything they got, we can dominate.
Hey, that defense looks nasty. There's a lot of excitement around that side of the football. Can the offense keep pace with what Tom Brady and company are bringing to the table? We'll have it all for you after the fact. We've got Cowboys Game Night and Cowboys OT, so join us on DallasCowboys.com after this one goes final. Dak Prescott rallying the troops at AT&T Stadium. It's finally here. The regular season is on the docket next. 7:20 kickoff, Cowboys, Buccaneers. Thanks for joining us on Cowboys Pregame Live. For Nate Newton, Barry Church, Isaiah Stanback, and our entire DallasCowboys.com crew, I'm Kyle Yeoman saying enjoy the game, everybody. Cowboys, Bucs, welcome back to the NFL.